Yo, 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 yo! It's EmceeDevi. We're going to be doing some React content. But first, I want to talk about ARK 2, sequel to ARK Survival Evolved. I'm really hyped for this game. And I don't really get hyped for games. I used to when I was younger, and I was sadly disappointed after No Man's Sky. So I stopped myself from being hyped from games. No Man's Sky ruined it for me. But I did play through that whole game. But ARK Survival Evolved came out when I was 14 years old. So it came out in 2015. And I remember being hyped for this game.
Look at this Trilobite I found while excavating through my carpet. What's that, Trilobite? 82% of people that watch my videos are not subscribed? Well, maybe they should subscribe.
And just waiting for it and thinking about it, and it consumed my thoughts all day and all night. And I remember being on the Steam page and just refreshing. They actually like delayed it by a couple hours to be released in early access, but I refreshed, and in like the first 5 seconds that it was released, I bought it immediately. I don't remember the price or anything, but I bought it immediately. I downloaded it. I had this terrible computer, this Lenovo laptop. It was not built for gaming. So when I ran it, I had to like put all the settings to the lowest. I got in the game, I got on an official server, and there was people running around everywhere. And I teamed up with these random people, and we just talked through the voice chat and built a little base, and it was really cool. And I'll never forget that moment. And you know, I don't have a ton of hours in the game. I have about 300 hours, and I was literally either a solo player or duo player. Mostly I was in a duo with my cousin, and we'd play ARK. We'd, you know, get home and we just play ARK. And that's what we did. It was like the new Minecraft, basically, for us. And so I'm really passionate about ARK, and I'm really hyped for this next game. And there's not a lot of information on it, but I wanted to talk about some of the things that I want in ARK 2 as sort of a veteran ARK player. The first thing is a stealth mechanic. Sort of what happens with ARK is you kind of just spawn in. Dinosaurs, they could have their back turned to you, and they'll see you. Like hiding in the bushes doesn't do anything. And there's sort of this horror game element to ARK where you kind of expect that. Like there's these giant lizards walking around everywhere, stomping, like shaking the ground, right? And then at night, it's just like things are just pitch black, you know? That's why it was like a thing to put the gamma up in ARK, because it would get so dark. But I want sort of a Horizon Zero Dawn, like try and avoid the dinosaurs different ways. I think that would really enhance the game. The next thing on my list is better combat. The combat in ARK was a lot like Rust. Now I think they sort of made the game in like a month. They made ARK really quickly, but better combat, especially with dinosaurs. It was just sort of like who had the bigger maw to chomp on, and it wasn't really interesting to look at. It was just sort of chomp, knockback, chomp, knockback. It wasn't like Jurassic Park 3 where the Spino and the dinosaurs, the T-Rex is fighting, and they're like, the Spino puts his claw on the T-Rex's head and like rips out his jugular. It wasn't like that. It was just sort of like, when I saw Trike and T-Rex fighting in the wild, it was just sort of like chomp, knockback, and that sort of extended to PvP combat in a way. There was the flyer element, and you could sort of pick people up, and there was all that stuff too, and knocking people out with tranks and putting them in cages. But I think overall, especially if they're gonna focus on PvE more, which it honestly really looks like they're doing, I don't know if that's a smart thing to do, because PvP was such a big part of the game. Like the game was sort of felt like Rust on steroids with dinosaurs. And it still feels that way to this day. I wasn't a big PvP player. Again, I was more PvE. And so a lot of where I'm coming from is me as like a PvE player and the sort of dinosaur game I want. Because a lot of dinosaur games fail. You know, somebody makes a dinosaur game and they fail. And ARK succeeded. You know, it was really buggy, and it still is buggy, but it succeeded. It was a successful dinosaur game. The next is sort of immersion, and that's a herd system. I want to, you know, walk through the world and see Triceratops, Stegosauruses, Brontos. That was something ARK was really lacking, and it broke immersion in the game. Everything felt very robotic. You know, a trike was here, a trike was over there. They didn't really walk together. They'd sort of just walk in circles near each other. But I think there needs to be a major herd system. That brings us to our next point, which is better taming. And with that herd system, I think we need nests and bonding. I think the taming system in ARK was repetitive and silly. I found it silly. You sort of just knock the creature out and then force feed them till they love you. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And one of the, I think, devs tweeted a poll asking about the taming system and whether there should be an alternative way of taming, and you know, that brings about benefits. And I think yes, people should have the option to knock out a creature, you know, and just force feed them. But I think there should also be an option which added benefits to it, where you sneak into a T-Rex nest, for example, and you steal the egg and try and get out of there alive, you know, and not like kill the mom and dad and steal the egg. That should like not reward you, but actually sneaking in there by yourself, taking the egg and getting out, and then raising that egg, imprinting it, and you know, maybe it's not a higher level, but it has a different bonus, like an imprint bonus. And you know, as you grow with that creature, maybe there's a whole skill tree you can do instead of just upping points in melee, points in health. You know, I want like a whole skill tree for my T-Rex. One of the biggest things for me, and I sort of had to come to terms with this, is I was, you know, young when I played ARK, and I would get really attached to creatures, and they would, you know, die, and I just sort of had to grow like a tough skin and be like, okay, this creature is gonna die, and I had to come to terms with that. And I don't think that's fair for a player to come to terms with. I'm thinking specifically, I remember there was this Pteranodon. I was flying around the world with this Pteranodon. I think it was a male. This Pteranodon, I don't even remember his name, but he was like, I was like bonded with him. Like I was bonded with him, not my player. Like I was so attached to this Pteranodon. I think he must have been one of my first ever flyers, like high level flyers. I think he was like in the 200s, 230 or something. And he was just a beast. He could kill everything. He'd just spin attack into things and pick things up. And I was flying over the island, I think it was, flying over this dense forest, and due to a glitch, I got knocked off. It was either a glitch or I accidentally hit like E or something, and I got knocked off. And I think I had a parachute, so I survived and fell down, and I was like looking for the Pteranodon up in the skies, and a raptor came and killed me. And I was so pissed off because that Pteranodon was just kind of stuck in the air. There was no mechanic for it to kind of fly back home if I was far away, which I think there should be. You should be able to activate that where like they have a landing pad and like they fly back home. But it was just kind of like stuck up there. And I remember I had to like go somewhere, or like my mom made me go somewhere, and I was so upset. I was like crying. Like that's how upset I was losing this Pteranodon. And I'm pretty sure like 2 weeks later, I eventually found the Pteranodon just kind of floating in the air, like around that area, or it had landed or something. But I'd bonded with a new animal, and I was sort of like, well, this one's not as good anymore. But I had to sort of come to terms with that, and I think there should be a bonding system that creates a deeper bond. And the game sort of just became like tame a bunch of creatures and use them, and you know they're gonna die. And I don't think it should be that way. Even in like the explorer notes with some of the protagonists, they have very like bonded creatures to them, and that should happen with us too. My next thing is reasons to build beautiful bases. This isn't a critique of the building system. I think the building system is really good. There's sort of no reason to build beautiful bases. And this sort of connects more to PvE, where, when I did play on a server, it was just sort of people put behemoth gates around their base, and all the dinos were like sort of there outside the base within the behemoth gates, and nobody really had a beautiful base. And I mostly played on PvP servers. I played on some PvE servers, but most of the PvE servers you couldn't build anywhere because people would just build pillars like all over the map, and they'd exploit that element. So I played on PvP servers that were chill. You didn't get raided like all the time. Most people were chill. Some factions would war with each other, but for the most part, if you were duo or solo, they'd leave you alone. And here's my next thing: less difficult to traverse maps. The maps were like very hilly. There was lots of cliffs, and sort of it became difficult to traverse. I'm thinking it was like Fortnite today without building. Like, you could tell the map was meant for like building in Fortnite. Here it's sort of similar, where the map is annoying to traverse, and that brings us to our next point: is flyers. And I think flyers should be harder to get. I think we should make the maps easier to traverse, more planes, because the game a lot of times became race to get a flyer. There was no point in having a raptor, really. It was like race to get an Argentavis, race to get a T-Rex. There was no point to like bring a Stegosaurus caravan through the wilderness when I could just bring a bunch of birds and fly over and avoid all that chaos down on the ground. I could just fly over the map. I want an excuse to traverse the map on the ground and really enjoy and explore that way. Because flying is cheesy. It's cheesy, it's cheap. Flyers should be way harder to get. Like, flyers, they should be terrifying. I'm thinking of Jurassic Park 3 again, where they go to the Pteranodon cage, and the Pteranodons pick you up and drop you. That's what they should do. There should be Argentavises, and the Argentavises should pick you up and take you to their nests. Maybe Pteranodons and Argentavises should be in specific places, and also like continue flying, because a Pteranodon would just land, you could bullet it, and then boom, you got a flyer. Like, why is that? Why is a Pteranodon landing right in front of me? Why isn't this thing vicious? Why isn't this thing attacking me? These flyers should be in the air constantly. They should be really hard to get. If you have a reason for stealth, if you have better combat, a herd system, better traversable maps, better taming, then there is a reason to actually enjoy the map instead of just getting a flyer, flying like over all that stuff, and boom, who cares, right? My next point is sort of what we talked about, is taking inspiration from horror games. Maybe velociraptors break into your house. They can just open the doors and break into your house. And so you need to fortify your house like well, right? Or maybe the animals sort of stalk you. Give us a reason to be scared instead of just flying over the map and not really caring, That brings us into like the next thing, is better dino AI. If they're gonna be horrifying, they should have better AI too. Like, I want to see in herds trikes eating the grass. But you could just lead a dinosaur off the cliff. They won't die. They don't like take fall damage, and they don't run out of stamina or anything. The dino AI was not super smart, And also T-Rexes would just follow you in the water and they'd swim. It doesn't make any sense to me. T-Rex, first of all, how could it swim in like deep ocean? And second of all, it should just stop at the shore and just sort of roar at you. They also added the RTS feature later, and that sort of gives us a reason to tame just a ton of dinosaurs, you know, and just go to war, just go at it. Have a reason to tame a bunch of dinos. Those dinos die in a big battle. Tame a bunch more, and you know, rinse and repeat. And the RTS system really enhances that. Now I don't know how much they could do with that, but they're on a new Unreal Engine, and I think they could do a lot of great stuff. Also, corpses should be left behind. And that brings us to our next point, is crafting with dino parts, which it looks like they're doing in the next game. Maybe I want my house to be like a mammoth hut, you know, or something like that. Or I want my armor to be all T-Rex bone armor or raptor bone armor or something like that. Deeper character customization is the next one. I want Skyrim level character customization. ARK sort of made trendy the making your character into a mutant and making different muscles. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I honestly really hated that. I thought it was immersion breaking. I was like, this is so dumb. I don't think they'll remove that because I think there'll be a really like an outcry from the audience, but I hope they do. And I hope they do a deeper character customization, because another thing that was immersion breaking is like I was in first person playing, right? And I'm like, oh, this is me, I'm playing. Then I'd open my inventory and it's not me. It's some guy that doesn't even look like me, right? This is the big one. Bring back Battle Royale. Yes. Bring back ARK Survival of the Fittest. ARK used to have a Battle Royale mode. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if people just stopped playing it or whatever, but Battle Royales are trendy. And I think what they should do is they should make a Battle Royale mode, make it free for anybody to play, and then the base game should be money, sort of like what Fortnite did. Fortnite made their Battle Royale free, and the main game didn't even get as much attention. ARK Survival of the Fittest was awesome. It was creative. It was like, whoa. Like, I would watch YouTubers. I tried to play it. My PC couldn't handle it. It would crash every time. But I watched YouTubers play this, and this was probably one of the best battle royales out there. Spawn into the map. Everybody runs to the middle to like get the loot and stuff. Then you go out there. You tame as many dinos as you can, right? And the circle's closing. Right, so you're taming dinos. You meet in the middle. There's this big battle, and the last team standing wins. And I think with that, all that said, they should take as much time as they need with ARK 2. I'm willing to wait, and I think the community is willing to wait a while. I know they were saying that it's gonna come out in 2022. I don't think that's smart. I don't really believe that. And I think the community is sort of on board with this, like very skeptical of this. There's still a really strong ARK community too. And I think what they should do is they should release the animated series in 2022. 2023, they show us more of ARK 2 and they have us vote on things. They have the community decide what we want. Right now, there's not a lot of information. They're not telling us a lot. And that is very weird. I know I said a lot. I hope I articulated myself well. I'm really hyped for ARK 2. I want to play it like all the time, and I want to have fun playing it, and I want to be immersed in dinosaurs. And so, yeah, those are just some of my thoughts, and